Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this episode of the Dream Sky podcast. My name is Jon Thomas, and I am here with another dream with a live dreamer. Today we have Irma. So Irma is a sister of one of our employees, and she's part of the family here. We love her and who she is, and she has a dream to share. So Irma, first, when did you have this dream? About how long ago?
Maybe like a week ago.
Oh, about a week ago. So nice and fresh. That's great. All right, so tell us the dream.
So I think from what I remember how it started, we were all going to dinner. So we're like, okay, but before we go to dinner, we have to, we had to walk to this like other building because we had to go through a journey before we got to the dinner table. So in that process, we were all in a line, and it was a lot of random people, all ages, and some of the people that I like roommates. So people that I knew, but also people that I've never seen. And we were on in a line, and there was this woman, and she was holding a mic, and she was leading us through this thing where there was this huge wall, almost like with shelves. And there was all of these tools that you could use. And the thing was, like, you had a timer of about, I think, 5 minutes, and you had to go through like these different obstacles that went along the wall. And they said, when the 5 minutes are up, whatever it is that you land on is what you have to grab, and you have to grab it. So I was like, okay, so I was up. So then I started it, and for some reason, I was only using one hand to balance myself. I don't know if I was holding something else. I just remember I was only holding one. But before I kept going, I turned back, because there was only one person allowed on it at a time. But I turned back and I helped the little girl behind me up onto the platform. And that's the only interaction I remember having with her, just helping her up through that first part. And then I went and my timer started and I started going. And when my timer gave out, I just grabbed the first thing because that was the rule. But for some reason, I grabbed 2 items and they're all numbered. So when I came off the platform, I had the 2 items and the woman was telling me, well, you can only keep one. So they let me choose. And both of them were these little cards. And I remember looking at the cards and thinking, what am I going to do with this? Like, how is this going to help me on this journey? And she was telling me, yeah, I know, like most people go for like boiling water. And I was looking at them and I was like, okay, well, I have to choose one. And there was a blue one and there was a yellow one. And I don't remember what was on the blue card, but on the yellow one, it said the journey of a monarch. And it had all these facts. And at the back, it had a chart that went for 8 weeks. So that's the one that I chose. And after I chose it, I kept it. And she's like, okay, well, choose someone from the crowd to go next. And I chose one of my roommates because he really wanted to go next. So I was like, okay. I was like, Austin. And he went. And then after that, the dream was over.
Okay. So the dream starts, you are getting ready to go to dinner, and group of people, some people that you know, some people that you don't. But before you're able to go to where you're going to eat, you have to go through this other building that's part of this complex. So you go into this other building, and there's this big obstacle course type thing. It's along a wall.
Yeah.
And you have to go through, you've got 5 minutes going through the obstacle course. And when the time is up, you grab whatever is there, and that's what you get to have. And you have to grab something, and it has to be after your time is up, period. So you're getting ready, and before you actually get started, you help this little girl get up on the platform so that she can go next. But then you go through the obstacle, but you're only using one hand during the whole time. You can't remember if you had something in your other hand or not, but you're just using one hand. You're kind of going through it, and your time goes up, and when you go to grab, you end up grabbing 2 things instead of one thing, and they're both cards. And you're sitting there, you're thinking they're cards, and the lady that's kind of running things or doing things, talking to you, she goes, yeah, I know, most people, they grab like boiling water. And you're thinking, well, what am I going to do with these cards? And you only can keep one of them. And you're looking at them. One of them is blue and the one is yellow. And the yellow says the journey of a monarch. And it has this chart that's on it, talks about the different journey. And on the back, there's like this 8-week stage of this. And then so you choose, that's the one that you choose. And then you're told, well, you get to choose who's next. And so you're looking around, and your friend Austin really wants to be next. And so you're like, oh, hey, yeah, you can go next. And that's the end of the dream.
Yes.
Okay. Well, a couple things. So food, a lot of times talks about spiritual nourishment. It talks about in scripture that it is, you You should be eating the meat, but you're still on the milk. So this idea of teaching doctrine, understanding God, learning things is spiritual food, is this connection. Man should not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So spiritual truth is spiritual food. So going to eat is you're on this journey to learn something. But before you're able to learn it, you've got to go through this other journey, not journal, but journey. Yeah. And the journey is about, there's a timing issue, right? There's a set amount of time that you're going to be having to go through something that it's not necessarily easy. There's an obstacle course. There's obstacles. There's difficulties that you're going to have to face. And you're using half of your strength to do this. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That could be an encouragement. It only takes half of your strength. Or it could be saying you're only going to use half your strength. But either way, you got through.
Yeah.
Right? You endured. And you're going to receive something from this journey that's going to help you in the next set of your journey. And what you're going to learn is the life of a monarch. Now, in the dream, monarch, what was that? Because there's a couple different meanings of monarch. There's a monarch butterfly, and then there's a monarch who's a king. Was this specifically about one of those, or was it just general?
I think where the first place my mind went in the dreams, even before I woke up, I thought of the monarch butterfly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wonder, like, I was wondering if it was that, and I also wonder if it was a dual meaning, right? Because there's a leadership, a rulership gift that you have, but there's also the process of transformation, and it's about an 8-week journey. Now, is that literally 8 weeks, or is it 8 periods of time? Because sometimes scripturally, a week can just mean a period of time, because it's a complete period. It's from Sabbath to Sabbath, so it's these seasons where God has these rhythms of rest and working. So it could be periods of time, or it could be literal. I just wonder if it might be a little bit more literal, that you're going to be going through a metamorphosis. You're going to go through some changing. You're going to find yourself in a new situation, a new you that's going to be able to fly, do the things that you need to do, and actually become what you were intended from the beginning. You've had some limitations in the gifting that God has given you, and it's kept you kind of earthbound. You've been hungry, and that hunger has been good, and you've been feeding. But there's a time of hiddenness where God is going to begin to transform some areas and get you prepared for what's next. But part of what's next is the leadership call that's on your life. You've seen glimpses, but you have not yet experienced the leadership call that he placed upon your life. He's called you to rule, and it's going to be a beautiful thing when it comes to pass. So that's that journey. And at the end of the journey, it's not the journey where you learn. This is the journey where you get through and you find a transformation, but then you get to go to where you learn. Yeah. You still get to go eat, which is a good thing, right? I mean, it's fun to go out to eat with your friends, right?
It is.
Yeah. So what are your questions? What are your thoughts?
I guess as you were explaining, one thing that I thought about was it's when I was going through the wall, it was an obstacle course where you're rushed. It's I had to be very careful, where it was just steady, because you have to go through the path they had. But I don't know, I guess the little girl where it's just why was I helping her on? Or, or is that just, I don't really know a lot about it.
Well, I wondered, it just seemed to me that just says something about your personality. Even though it's your turn and you're stepping on, you're still going to be helping those that are not quite at the place that you are, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit more immature. And you're going to be helping them get prepared for their own journey. Mm-hmm. You're not going to do it for them. You're not supposed to. You've got your own journey. They've got their journey. But you're still going to help them get started with what you can. You're going to lend your strength to someone else to get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about choice? Because I did have to choose. But is there anything with the fact that I one card is I can remember specifically, and the other one, which I just remember, was blue.
Right.
So I don't know, does that have anything to do with the dream, or is it just...
Yeah, it does. I'm not 100% sure what to do with it. I mean, I can think of, and blue usually talks about revelation, yellow can talk about the mind, or it could talk about hope on the positive side of it. And so is that something... I don't feel any real revelation on that. And so I didn't know where to go with it. So I just kind of left that one there because I don't want to say something and then something else be the meaning of it and then lose it. So you will probably recognize that when the time comes. There's going to be a choice you're going to have to make. But the choice is going to lead you to where you're going, right? That yellow, the monarch thing, the transformation, the metamorphosis, and the journey that you're going through. But there is going to be a choice that you're going to have to make. And what's the other choice? I mean, in the dream, you don't remember.
Yeah.
So you don't need to know now. But when it happens, you'll recognize it. You'll be like, oh, okay, that's what that is. Yeah. Sometimes God leaves those things blank because when we get into the situation, we want to already know what we're supposed to choose, but it's what we choose in the moment that is key, because he's not trying to remove our choice. He's just letting us know that he already knows the choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing the dream. That's a fun one.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, that's really cool. Guys, thanks for joining us. My name is John Thomas, and this was Dreams Guide Podcast. We will see you on our next episode.